For the last 2 weeks, I have taken a break off of social media, and I would like to share some of the pieces that I'm learning and experiencing. As well, I'm noticing very big collective themes showing up right now. We are in the third week of March. If you've been feeling really intense energy, highs and lows, if you've been feeling themes around surrender and letting go, if you've been feeling like you have to take action or that you need to take action, but you don't know what that means. If you've been feeling this theme of discernment and trying to figure things out, but not quite knowing how, this video is for you. Welcome back to the channel. I have been away for a couple weeks, not just from here, but from my other social medias as well, Instagram being one big one, Facebook. And we have really built a society, especially with technology, where we feel like, or where we're taught or conditioned to believe that we need that thing to survive or to belong or to make it or whatever that is. And social media, especially for people who run online businesses, has become this thing. And I've gotten really curious around this. Like, how do we work with it as a tool, whether it's for your business or not? Maybe it's just you want to stay informed, which I don't blame you. The world's a little wild right now. It's burning down. And there might be this need or this desire to stay informed. So how do you utilize it as a tool without it taking over? How do you utilize it as a tool in your life without it being something you need to have? I've really been exploring this. So that's one thing that's really shown up for me. In this video, I'm also going to talk about, so first I'll talk a little bit around what this has been like for me. But I'm going to talk to some really big themes that are showing up in the collective and how I know this, because even though I'm not on social media and I'm kind of tapped into energy that's out there, I still go into the Akashic records. I'm still running my Empowered Awakening program. And so I'm meeting with our women every week. I'm having conversations with people. I'm out in the wild, as they say, in life. And I'm really, this has also helped me understand that we don't necessarily need social media to stay informed or to be connected. In fact, I think social media disconnects us in a lot of ways. One thing I've really noticed not being on it is how much more regulated I feel. Oof. Like how much more grounded in my energy I feel not being on it as much. And I think sometimes we don't always notice when we're in it, but what I notice, the times that I have gone on it since I've come off as a break, I notice when I get off it, like I'll go on to see if maybe a client has messaged or to, just to check in to see if anybody's inquiring about something. And I haven't really gotten dragged down a rabbit hole or anything, because sometimes that can happen when you get onto your main feed and you start seeing things. But what I do notice, even though I'm not doom scrolling, which I have done, is that when I get off, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. And this has gotten me really curious around our habits when it comes to social media, our awareness. This piece came through the other day of social media being this grid that we plug into. And so the energy that we are embodying when we're plugging into it plays a big part. I really believe we're coming into a time where we're being asked to create, share, to alchemize what it is that we are experiencing and share that and express that. That's personally how I found so much healing and connection on my journey, is through sharing the things that I've gone through or putting it into words or expressing it in some way. And I notice a big difference when I'm going on social media to create or to consume. Big difference, right? What is my intention when I'm going on social media? It doesn't mean that you don't go on and consume. Like, I create stuff that I want you to receive. But I think we have to be really aware of our energy before we tap into this grid. Because, there's something come through here. Because when our energy is in maybe a place of fear or lack, when we tap into the grid, we're going to receive that. Okay. Or you're going to go down a rabbit hole, or you're going to be taken somewhere because you're already off center. You're already disconnected from your power. But when you go on social media and you're grounded and you're rooted, and maybe you want to share something, or you're excited, or you're in a place of love and openness and connection, you're going to receive more of that, right? So I think the energy, this is one thing I'm noticing, is the energy before I go on it plays a big part. Also, a big part is having boundaries. So this could look like, setting a time limit for how long you're going to go on it, and setting a timer so that you have that actual visual or auditory reminder. Okay, time's up. Or there's apps that you can get on your phone where it actually shuts you out of the app when the time is up. And then it becomes your choice if you want to break through that and stay on it. But at least there's some sort of boundary there, right? Or creating boundaries around what you are receiving when you go on. There are some people that I actually have hid their story and their information from me, so that when I do want to receive information from them, because it is helpful, but I don't want to be receiving it all the time because it can be a lot, I will mute their stuff. And then I intentionally go to their pages to learn about something, to receive something. And these are people that are doing really good work in the world. But if I'm receiving it constantly, this is what I noticed. This is part of the break I needed to take. If I'm receiving it constantly all the time, it's too much for my nervous system and I can't process it. And so it's important to want to be informed. But how informed is a good question you should ask yourself. How much am I putting in my system that my system can't process? So that's a really important piece. Two more things before we get to some of the big themes that I've been receiving that I think will really be able to help you right now as we are moving into the end of March. I'm excited to dig into what April's energy forecast is going to look like, but these themes are important that I'm going to get to, because I think it's really important to have this awareness around what is showing up here as we're entering into what's next. Something that has recently come through, and I'm really just in the beginning stages of teasing it out, but it feels to me, and things can always change. There are a lot of times where I say I'm going to make this or I'm going to create this, and then it just doesn't end up happening. Sometimes because it's not the right time, sometimes because it's not the right thing to offer. And so I hope that this is something that's going to come to fruition, but we will see. It feels like it's a new offering that's starting to birth through me, that is for, I guess the best way to put it is the lightworkers. This feels like it's more of an upper level offering, something that I've never done before, for the souls that are here. And if you know, like you'll know if this resonates. For the souls that are here where you've had that itch in you that you've never been able to scratch, or you've known, and this is not from an egotistical way. This is from a deep soul knowing that you are here for more. Full chills when I said that. Again, it's not an ego thing like more. No, like your soul, like you have known. And the best way I can explain this is like when I was a little girl, and actually throughout my life in lots of different checkpoints, like things where I would like enter into something and I'd be like, but it doesn't feel like it's quite it. Like something was missing. And it was this itch I couldn't scratch. It was this knowing that I was here for something big. And so if you know, if this resonates, this is going to be, hopefully it becomes something, an offering for the light workers, because I'm really starting to realize that the energy is so big and it is not slowing down. And this is because we are ascending as a collective. We hear about this a lot. And something I say all the time is, to ascend, we have to descend. This is why the energies felt big. but you're also being asked to move through really hard, intense, challenging pieces, because to ascend our energy, to be able to hold more, to be able to tap more into higher dimensions of 5D, you have to be able to descend within yourself and move through your dense stuff that keeps you in the 3D, right? Fear, like heavier, denser emotions, shame. And so the energy, all the guidance I'm receiving is that the energy is not going to be slowing down. The energy is not going to get smaller. It's going to get bigger, and it's going to be intense, because we are at such a ripe, important time in our collective energy. So this offering that feels like it's going to come through, it feels like it's going to be some sort of community that provides you with support on, energy tips, energy support, channeled guidance, consistent channeled guidance from the Akashic records, teachings on how to know and understand and trust what is going on for you, for us, because what is collective is individual, and how to be grounded in your light through this. Because I've been saying this a lot lately, the light always prevails. But in order for our light to prevail through this dark time in humanity, I mean, look at the news, look at all the stuff that shows up. Not that I'm a big news watcher, but look at all the stuff that's showing up. This is a dark time in humanity. And I firmly believe to be true deep in my soul that we will prevail through this. But we have to know how to maintain and embody our light through this. And this is where the light workers that have come here, again, you'll know, that have come here, we have to know how to support our energy, how to have awareness of what is going on, how to be tapped in, how to be discerning of what is true and what is not, how to connect in community and hold this energy together, how to move through the really dense, hard stuff. So I'm excited about this. Clearly, whenever I get passionate like this, I'm excited. So stay tuned. If that is something that if you're listening to me talking right now and you're like, oh yeah, this resonates, send me a message. Tell me where you're at. I don't necessarily go based off of what I receive. If this is right or not, I usually just trust and then I offer it. But if this is resonating for you, message me. I would love to hear where you're at and how this potentially could be helpful for you. Lastly, before I go into some of these themes, I have been moving through a really intense, hard piece over the last few days, especially. And, I can understand now why my soul was like, you need to take a step back, because there have been some really big things I've had to explore that have really come to a head over the last few days. And, I will share this at some point. It's a pretty big piece that I'm moving through in terms of a relationship. And I think it's important to share what I am moving through, because I think it would really resonate for so many of you. But I also want to speak to, when you get a nudge to do something, it might not seem like the right idea. Often, our most important nudges will not seem like the right idea. They'll probably seem a bit opposite from what is right. I always say that the ego speaks through the mind and will tell us that it's right, but it won't feel right in our body. And our intuition speaks through the body, and we will feel that it's right, but our mind will tell us it's wrong. So tap into that, because when I started to receive, you need to get off social media for a little bit. And I actually received this in a session that I was doing with my coach, where she mirrored it back to me. And I was like, I can't do that. A month? Oh my gosh. And then I did it. I followed it. And now I can see, as things have transpired, as pieces have fallen and then fallen into place the way that they were supposed to, and not in a nice, easy way. I can understand why I needed to take this step back, because I needed to clear the noise. I needed to clear the distractions. I needed to be able to have really clear discernment and be able to practice that discernment in a more effective way. And social media can be very distracting. I think there's no doubt about it. It's also teaching me a lot around what I want my boundaries to be moving forward. And so I say this piece, trust when you're getting the nudge, and get curious if that nudge feels wrong. Get curious if that nudge feels uncomfortable. Get curious if that nudge feels, just get curious. Because often when we have resistance to certain nudges, there's typically some expansion there, because the nudge is asking us to step outside of what we know and the comfort zone. And that's where the expansion occurs. Okay, so one of the themes that I want to speak to is this intense energy, which we've known, if you've been watching my forecast, this has been a theme that I've been speaking to a lot, is this intense, it's a fire horse energy. But what I want to speak to specifically around this is understanding, having awareness around what this intense energy is partly asking us to do. And that is expand our capacity to be able to hold more. The truth, and this is something that I have really explored a lot throughout my life, and something that continues to ring true. You might not agree with this, but to me, the truth is somewhere in the middle. The truth often has a neutrality to it, because the ego works in opposites. The ego works in intensity. The ego works in sides. There's a disconnect there. There's a separation there. And part of what we're doing as a collective is entering into this space where we're learning how to be with more. We're building a muscle of being able to connect to greater oneness, neutrality. And so in order to do that, we have to know how to navigate duality. And so that's why the energy is so much more intense, is it's inviting us to learn how to be with more of all of it. So you might notice that you might have a day where you're extremely sad and then extremely happy. Or it might feel like you're moving through a big death portal, but then also a really big rebirth. Or maybe you're really tired, but yet also really exhilarated by certain things. So notice the polarities, notice the intensity. And what I believe we're being asked to do more and more is, can we be with all of it without attaching so much right and wrong energy to all of it? Because right and wrong, that's again the ego doing its best work. See if you can be with all of it. Getting curious. I always say that curiosity is such a neutralizer when it comes to activating energy. Get curious. Another piece that has been coming up, and I spoke to this theme of discernment a little bit. We are being asked to get better at discernment. And boy, oh boy, can we see this on social media with AI. We are being asked to get better at having better discernment of bullshit. Truly. Like when that gauge goes off, are you listening? Are you paying attention to when something doesn't feel right, when something doesn't feel true? Do you even know what that feels like in the body? This is something that I feel like I've been really initiated into over the last few days, week especially. Our body is always speaking to us. I like to say that our body is our strongest intuitive tool. It is our intuitive tool. It is a channel in which we receive. And we are going to be asked collectively, individually, to get better at discerning what is right and what is not, what is true and what is false, what is fear and what is love. We're being asked to discern all of that in the body, not here. You can have a knowing that drops in. That's different. It drops. But if you're here ruminating, cycling, cyclical thinking, that's not truth here. And, the saying keeps coming up, things are not always what they seem. It's almost like I just got the visual of like Alice in Wonderland and looking beyond, what is that? Looking beyond the glass. Somebody please put a comment so that I can actually figure this piece out. But it's like looking beyond the veil. Things are not always what they seem to be. And I've had some really hard lessons with this lately where it's felt like I've been having some big ego deaths of like things collapsing of what I thought something was out in the world, in the grand scale of the world, in the government, politics, and lots of things going on, also in very intimate relationships. And part of what I know I'm being asked of in these really hard lessons is strengthening, is sharpening my discernment. And how do we do that? We do it in the body. And so start to get curious with your body. Start to build a relationship with your body if you do not have that. Start to listen, pay attention. And if you're a woman listening to this, our intuition is so good. And I can see now throughout my life, man, oh man, it wasn't that I wasn't receiving the truth in my body. It was, I was ignoring it and not trusting it. And boy, oh boy, have I been getting so much better at that lately. And now there's no question. When I feel something, I know because I've started to listen and it continues to show me I'm correct. So start to listen to your body, man or woman, but women, we have an especially good way of doing this. We're especially gifted at this. Listen and trust what is showing up because you're going to be asked to do this more and more in bigger ways as we ascend. Okay, the last piece that I want to speak to is taking action. I've been talking to a lot of you around, how do you know what is the right action to take? How do I know what is the next step on my soul journey, on my path? My very beautiful, amazing coach that I work with, she told me something one time and I will never forget it. And it was around this piece of the soul blueprint. Like when we are walking the path of our soul, there is no blueprint. The blueprint is in here, and the blueprint is the nudges that we follow. And when we follow those nudges, the map then unfolds. And this is so important when it comes to taking action. Actually, it came up in our meetup yesterday in our Empowered Awakening group. One of the women had asked about action, and it was somehow mentioned. I spoke to this piece of, it's not always external action that we need to take. And she was a little bit surprised. And it made me realize that I think sometimes we have this idea that action is always this external thing that we're doing in the world, these physical tasks or pieces that we're doing out in the world. Sometimes action is no action. Sometimes action is going within and listening, sitting in stillness. Sometimes action is letting go of something. So it's not always these sort of physical pieces that we need to do or checking off the to-do list. Sometimes it requires that masculine energy, but sometimes it doesn't. And so if you're in this place of wondering, what do I need to do? I love this rule of thumb. It's one that's come through a lot for me over the years, is if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, take a look, reflect and see, what have I been doing? And perhaps the solution here is doing the opposite. Because often what we will do is familiar. It is comfortable and it's in a pattern. And if we feel stuck, it's because we're in that pattern and we're looping in the same energy. And often we break our patterns through doing something different, through shifting out of that familiar energy. So think about that as well. Okay, my friends, that is it. I'm so glad that I decided to do this. At first, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to tape a video. I was thinking about how I was taking a break and a step back. But honestly, this work fills me up so much. And I always get so much from it, even though I'm the one saying it. It's like I'm reading through these different themes and these pieces that I've had written down and reflections. And in sharing it, it helps me integrate this on a deeper level. And so I'm so glad that I decided to sit down and share some of these pieces that have been on my heart. I was going to say I'll be back next week. I don't know if I'll be back next week, but I will be back with an energy forecast for April. Love doing those. And please let me know how this landed for you. Leave a comment, share it if you think that somebody is going through a really hard time right now, or just needs some extra support, or has questions around this wild journey that we're on. Please share. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe so that you receive these videos after I've made them. And let me know if you'd like to join our email list. I send out emails once every couple weeks just to give an update of where I'm at, things I'm offering, videos that I've created. So definitely join the community newsletter. You can let me know if you'd like to join. And I will see you when I see you.